is the Pink Line back on track? You know, that's been a project, a sort of diagonal line of public transit to cut through the island and serve areas that aren't well served by public transit. You know, I know this well. I lived in Lachine for 10 years. And I remember being in Lachine. When did I buy a car? I bought a car living in Lachine. And part of the reason why, if you wanted to get out of Lachine, you had to get on the 191, the 195. You had to take a couple of buses. And it wasn't an easy process. A lot of people have felt for a long time that there are parts of this island that just aren't well served. And when the Pink Line was initially proposed, and I know Valerie Plante, the mayor of Montreal, one of those big proponents of the Pink Line, said this would be a way, a diagonal line, getting to places that don't necessarily have proper public transit. Now, lo and behold, at least a portion of that Pink Line, that idea for a Pink Line, is being seriously looked at. And they're looking at routes and different options for a line. And we're going to find out more from the ARTM. That, of course, is the region's transit authority. They want to take some time to look at the public transit network and look at an option that could resemble the idea of the Pink Line. Patrick Charpentier joins us on the line, director of the project for the ARTM. Patrick, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for having me today, Mr. Makos. Very nice to be with you today, and I hope I can answer some of your questions. And please bear with me. I'm normally using French in my day-to-day work, so if I step on some French term, that's the reason why.
Do not worry about it.
I'll do my best.
Don't worry about it. Most of our listeners are quite bilingual, so don't worry about it. So Patrick, you know, I see the headlines that the Pink Line may be back or the Pink Line resurrected. How close to being true are those statements?
Well, ARTM, with its study partner, which is City of Montreal and also Ministère des Transports et de la Mobilité Durable, are continuing a study that has started in 2021, which is the opportunity file for the Greater Southwest Project. This is the first stage of a planning project, of a major planning project. So during that phase, we have to analyze, obviously, the territory, see where people live, see where people are aiming to go, and also understanding the mobility. So that's the very first step of a major project. It follows some directives that we need to follow as we do those kind of projects, but that's the very first step that we do when we do a major project.
So, Patrick, I mentioned it off the top. Living in Lachine is what made me buy a car. So what when we look at that part, the Sud-West and then into Lachine and that part of town, just how much does it need projects like this?
Well, we look not only at Lachine, but we look at a territory which is roughly 20% of the population and also 20% of the land use. So it's a huge territory that we're looking at the moment. If we look at Lachine, La Salle, Dorval, those are areas where we see transportation, the portion that the people use, mainly cars or public transport. We see that this area, if we look at the west part of the territory, they mainly use a car at the moment. And you can explain this by different reasons. But the presence of a transport structurant, which is like transportation means, which is high level of service, high level of frequency, they are not that much present in the territory. Yes, there's like transportation system presence, buses, trains, also different other means of transportation, but most of the people in this area use car mainly. If you look at Lachine, it's probably 70% that use cars, as opposed to 15% use public transport. So you have an idea if I look at Lachine, because you mentioned Lachine.
Yeah. Yeah, and Patrick, when we talk about what type of transit we're talking about here, obviously when I say pink line, I think of it almost like a metro line, like orange line, yellow line, green line, right? But that we're not looking at metro here. It could possibly be metro, but we're looking at a whole bunch of options. Like, are we looking at tramways, another type of REM line? What are we looking at here?
Yeah. At this early stage of the study, all major modes of transportation are being evaluated. So we look, when we do a project, again, where people live, where they go, what means of transportation that they are currently using, and we can see not a tendency, but a volume of transportation. And to decide which mode is the best, we need to have higher numbers of people who wants to go from one point to another. So at the moment, all modes are still on the table at the moment. So the mode that you mentioned are applicable to the area that we have at the moment.
We're with Patrick Charpentier from the ARTM, the region's transit authority, talking about a possibility of resurrecting the pink line in certain parts of town. So, Patrick, we know that public transit usage has gone down over the last few years, right? People are now working hybrid, working from home. Public transit use has gone down. How tough is it to get new public transit projects off the ground at a time where people are using public transit less?
I'm not going to say the good thing about what I do, but it's we're in the long-term planning. So yes, the COVID has an impact on public transportation usage, but the project that we're studying is for a very not distant time, but it needs many years to plan, many years to develop, and we are considering those lower number in our study, but to make the decision to invest in such a project, it's definitely the prerogative of the provincial government. My task is to provide them with the best tool, the best study, and the best analysis to make a good decision. And that's my role as a project director.
When you're out of the office, when maybe you're out on a terrace having a drink with friends, how do you refer to this project? Do you call it the Pink Line? How do you talk about it when you're amongst friends?
Well, my title, and I translate, like I mentioned, my title, which is like the Greater Southwest Project, but the project title is very long. It's Projet de transport structurant collectif pour desservir le territoire et le relier au centre-ville, which is not very catchy as a name. So if I talk to my parents, friends on a patio drinking beer, I'm just going to say I'm a major project transportation planner for a major project. So that's how I'm referring to this project within my family.
Patrick, here in Quebec, we love our long titles for organizations and bureaus, so I totally understand. I'll leave you with this, Patrick. We have a text line. People can send us text messages during the interview, and I've gotten a ton of text messages saying how great your English is, by the way. So thanks for coming on. Hopefully we can talk again real soon.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It was a good questions, good interview, and hopefully we can come back and talk a bit more about all the options in the falls.
Absolutely, Patrick, as the project moves forward. Thanks so much. That's Patrick Charpentier, director of the project for the Sud-West, and looking at perhaps resurrecting the Pink Line at the ARTM.